SNAP benefits and cuts. Who's going to be affected immediately and the most? And which states are going to be paying the federal government more for the cost of their SNAP program, which in turn will have an effect on those who live in those states? Let's dig in. People who are immediately going to be affected and affected the most and in jeopardy of losing their SNAP benefits are the people who do not have jobs and can work, physically and mentally able to work. These are not individuals on disability. These are individuals between the ages of 19 and 64 who are able-bodied and able to go out and get a job. You have to go get a job and you have to work 80 hours per month if you want SNAP. Now, yes, your SNAP benefits will decrease because it's based on income, right? But you're going to be affected immediately. Anybody on SNAP currently who is in that category, at your recertification, that is most likely when it will occur, but you're going to need to prove that you've been working. So I would get a job now. And for anybody who wants to apply for SNAP who is in that category, well, you better already have a job because you're not going to be able to get SNAP. Now, let's move on to the states. States are going to have to pay more money for the cost of their SNAP benefits to the federal government. Now, some states will be paying more. Why? Because there's something called a SNAP error rate, which I will define for you because it's important that you know what that is. But first, it's really important that you understand these states also have the option to completely remove and eliminate their SNAP programs for their states. If what they have to pay the federal government is too high and they don't want the program in their state, they can completely eliminate that. The budget bill allows for that. The Trump administration allows for that. So they don't have to have that program in the state. And there are a couple of states that are at risk for completely losing the SNAP program. But there are also states that, especially red states, that don't want the SNAP program. So, we cannot worry about things that haven't happened yet, but let's deal with what is happening. So let's first define what a SNAP error rate is, okay? A SNAP error rate is essentially, it's a performance metric, and it determines what mistakes are being made within each SNAP office in each state. The SNAP error rate determines the state's accuracy with SNAP eligibility and benefit determination. So this has nothing to do with SNAP fraud. This is not fraud, okay? These are mistakes that applicants will make on their SNAP applications, or it could be mistakes that a caseworker who works for SNAP, who works for DHS and in the SNAP department, makes mistakes when they're determining who's eligible and who's not, or they're determining how much benefits one person will get. They're overpaying, they're underpaying. These are all mistakes, and every state has a SNAP error rate. Now, which state has the highest SNAP error rate in the country? Alaska. It's over 22% is their SNAP error rate. And that is why Alaskan Senator Murkowski was trying to barter her vote for the Republican budget bill and have her state exempt from being charged money for her SNAP error rate because it's so high that she would have to dish out millions of dollars to the federal government, and she didn't want to do that. And then there were a lot of senators who just were not happy about this. And everybody thinks that, okay, well, they threw it out. That was taken out of the budget bill. Well, technically it was, but another provision was put in the budget bill where a group of states with high SNAP error rates are exempt from paying the federal government. So the states that I'm about to list, if you live in these states, you are going to be protected from losing your SNAP, essentially losing benefits because of this exemption, at least until 2030. Which states are this? Alaska, Florida, Georgia, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, and Washington, D.C. Now, those states will have until the fiscal year 2030 to get their SNAP error rate down before they would have to pay for a portion of their SNAP benefits in their state. Now, anything could happen between now and 2030, right? So it just seems irrelevant at this point to even speculate what will happen once they have to start paying. However, all of the other states will have to start paying a portion of their SNAP benefits, and it's going to depend on their error rate. Now, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has put out a list. I have it for you here. You can pause the video, screenshot it, what have you. This list tells you exactly what the SNAP error rate is for each state and territory, including Washington, D.C. Now, any SNAP error rate over 6% means that that state will have to pay a portion of the cost of SNAP benefits to the federal government, which means less SNAP for you, which means your state could eliminate a SNAP program completely. When does this begin? It begins fiscal year 2028. What exactly is a fiscal year? What does that mean, the fiscal year 2028? A lot of people think, oh, January 1st, 2028. No. A fiscal year, for all intended purposes with the federal government, starts on October 1st of one year and it ends September 30th the following year. So fiscal year 2028 begins October 1st, 2027, and it ends September 30th, 2028. So that is when all the other states, not the states that are in the Alaska group, will have to start paying a portion of their SNAP benefits to the federal government based on their SNAP error rate. So again, it's going to depend on what your state decides to do for their SNAP recipients as to how much it affects you. But you can definitely check out my other videos. I've really broken down everything and who's affected and what the new changes are and whatnot. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments or message me. I've been getting to, I have a lot of messages, so I'm getting to them as I'm able to every day. Please like, follow, and share to get this information out to other people, as a lot of people don't understand how these things work and when, in fact, all of these things are going to occur where it will affect them. You know, it's important that we share information that's accurate. There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation, not only from Republicans, but from Democrats as well. So I appreciate you being here.